Dear students, so welcome back to the environmental science class. So as you know that this class is designed mostly for the BTech students and also the BSc environmental science students. So yeah, we can start today's class. So in the last few classes, we have discussed about the environmental pollution like water pollution, sound pollution, land pollution, all these things. And today we are going to discuss about the radioactive pollution. So radioactive pollution is one of the most serious and long-lasting forms of environmental pollution. So radioactive pollution refers to the contamination of the environment by radioactive substances that emit harmful radiations, such as like alpha radiation, beta radiation, and gamma rays. So unlike many other pollutants, so radioactive materials can remain hazardous for years, even for decades, and even sometimes for thousands of years, because it depends on the radioactive nature of the material. The major sources of radioactive pollution include the nuclear power plants, the nuclear weapons testing, and also some of the mining where we are basically like taking out this all this radioactive material, and also the places, the like the factories where we are processing those like the minerals or these ores, radioactive ores. And if we are just simply dumping all these ores in the like in not designated places, then also we will be affected. So the improper disposal of radioactive waste and the accidents such as those of the Chernobyl disasters and the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disasters, so all these things are basically the nuclear pollutions. So they are creating problems to the nature. So the radioactive substances can contaminate air, water, and soil, and eventually these pollutants enter the food chain, posing serious threats to the both humans and ecosystems. So exposure to the radiation can cause severe health effects, including like skin burns, genetic mutation, birth defects. So you can hear the birth defects most common in the radioactive places, like in Japan, also one of the places where the due to the Second World War, America dropped the bombs in the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So still in today's time, so they are having some birth defect issues. Also, like some of the other health effects like the cancer, so this radiation also can damage the vital organs. So because of this radiation is invisible, so we cannot see the radiation. So this is basically out of our sight. So it can silently basically affect our body. And the more like which is really dangerous is that so this radiation can stay for years, so you never know so how long you were affected by this radioactive radiation. So it is essential to ensure the safe use of nuclear technology, the proper disposal system, and also we need strict safety regulations and continuous environmental monitoring. So by understanding the cause and the consequences of radioactive pollution, we can work towards towards protecting our environment and ensuring a safer and healthier future for the next generation. All right, so let's see what is radioactive pollution. So radiation or radioactive pollution is emission of radiation from the radioactive substances like uranium, plutonium, etc., also from the nuclear waste, which can contaminate air, water, and soil and directly can affect the human being. So we can see the some of the sources of radiations. The first one is nuclear power stations, the nuclear bomb, the nuclear accidents. And sometimes the waste from the nuclear power plants also can cause this radiation pollution. The leakages from the stored radioactive wastes or X-ray testing laboratories like the XRD laboratories or XPS laboratories, the radio, TV units, electronic devices, the high energy photons and electrons released from the sun as the cosmic rays. some radioactive isotopes. So like we know that in our periodic table we have like more than 100 elements, but some of the elements, so they are non-radioactive, but their isotopes are radioactive. So these isotopes are also harmful for the health. So we have to be very, very careful while using this type of elements and their compounds. Here are the regions of radioactive pollutants. So radium, thorium, uranium, and carbon 14 isotopes. So these isotopes are like they're radioactive, and basically also some of the like the other isotopes like the explosion of hydrogen, and also some like nitrogen 15, strontium 90, iodine 129, cesium 137, and some isotopes of iron. They are all radioactive. So here are some man-made sources of radioactive pollutants. So like unused spent fuels, so waste from the nuclear power industry, scrapped electronic goods, the medical equipments releasing radioactivity. So biological wastes with radioactive elements. So like biomedical or pathological wastes, potentially infectious wastes from the hospitals, clinic laboratories, and etc. So they are also causing radioactive pollutions. So here are the effects of radioactive pollution. So radioactive pollution causes severe environmental damage by releasing ionizing radiation that disrupts the ecosystem, and they can cause genetic mutations. So like over the time, if the human body or the any animal body is exposed to the radiation, so over the time, after some time, so this genetic clearly the mutation can happen, and this radiation also can lead to the high mortality rates in the plants and animals. So it contaminates soil, air, and water, leading to the long-term infertility of the land, so bioaccumulation in the food chain, and potential long-term irreversible destruction of habitats. So all these things can happen due to this strong radioactive pollution. So we have to be careful while we are using all these radioactive pollution. Even in some cases, if we don't know that this is radioactive or not, so we can also like test with the this radiation monitoring tools that this area, so or this like material is radioactive or not, and then we can use this area or this material. So there are actually many environmental effects caused by the radiation pollution. So here are a few of them are listed. You can see here the first one is genetic mutations and damage. So radiation causes direct cell damage, causing the DNA mutations, abnormal growth, or immediate death in the flora and fauna. The second is the soil and groundwater contamination. The radioactive waste pollutes soil, destroying the nutrients and making land infertile. Contaminants can leach into the groundwater and soil, entering the ecosystem's food chain. So when we are eating the food, and if this food contains this type of radioactive minerals, so indirectly we are also affected. So as long as this if this mineral will stay in our body, it will still continue to radiate, and this radiation will affect our tissue. So basically, after some time, we'll see this type of effects causing cancer or many other health issues. So here in this nice depiction, we can see that the cell is affected due to this radiation and causing this DNA mutation or DNA damage. For other key environmental effects, like we have aquatic ecosystem disruption. So here the water bodies, including the oceans and river, can become contaminated, and the marine life will be in danger, and which is basically caused by this radioactive pollution. So the next one is bioaccumulation. The radioactive isotopes accumulate in organisms, causing increased danger as they can move up the food chain from the plants to herbivores and carnivores. The third is the long-term habitat damage. the areas affected by the radioactive pollution may become uninhabitable. So with persistent and long-lasting effects on local wildlife and ecosystems. So you can hear the news very often that the areas in like where we have this radioactive pollution, so they are still having this type of health issues. So very famous that the nuclear disaster happened at Chernobyl. So here in this place, so they have so this is Chernobyl is in the Ukraine, so they have too much of like radiation pollution in this area, which is basically causing the health issues in the birds. Even they have found these things in the frog, in the like the forest animals, and also in the plants in the forest. So they have found that the DNA of these kind of animals or birds is significantly altered than the general DNA. So here we can see that the mutagenesis, it is causing the DNA damage, so which is basically causing the reproductive system failure. So among the other effects of nuclear pollution, so some are listed here, like the brain and central nervous system affected by delirium, convulsions, and death. The loss of sight in eyes, vomiting, bleeding, and mouth ulcers, blood vessel damage, and the red spot on skin. Infection of intestinal wall, brain damage, brain tumor, mental retardation affecting pregnancy. The EMR from the cell phones have been linked to the development of brain tumors, genetic damage. So you also should be careful of the mobile, because we should not keep the mobile close to our uh, body, because this radiation also can cause the problem to our health. And the last one is the occupational health hazard, developing various type of cancer. So for the Chernobyl disaster, which is also referred to as of the Chernobyl accident, was a catastrophic nuclear accident. So it happened on 26th April 1986 in the number 4 light water graphite moderate reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near Pripyat, in what was then the part of Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic of Soviet Union, the USSR. So the nuclear disaster happened in Japan in Fukushima. So for the incident at the Fukushima Daiichi, so due to the earthquake, this nuclear power plant is got damaged. So it happened in 2011. The Japanese nuclear accidents did, so you can see here that due to this disaster, it got this fire, and due to this accident, basically the all over, and so this power plant is actually situated near like a seaside. So due to this like accident, all the marine animals were also affected. So we have to be very careful, and also the government should take like the strict regulation, and also that if something happened, then we should also be careful. Okay, so how can we control this radiation pollution? So here are some like control measures you can see in these slides. The first one is the nuclear test should not be in the air. So you can see that when we are doing the nuclear tests, the nuclear weapon, so we are always doing it under the ground. We are not doing it in the air. So you can, so maybe you have already seen the images from the Pokhran, or maybe other from the other countries. So they are always doing the nuclear test under the ground. That is because that if you do this blasts under the ground, so it is not directly exposed to the air. But if it is exposed to the air, then it will be like the air is always blowing, right? So it will be spreaded quickly to all over the places. So we will be infected, like will be affected. The animals will be affected. The whole system will be affected. So the nuclear test must be conducted under the ground. The nuclear reactor should be covered by the closed cycle coolant. So yes, That is like we have to cool down the nuclear reactor once, because once it is made and we are using it all the time. So if it is too hot, then also it can create a problem. So we should cover the area with the coolant. The production of radioisotopes would be minimized. So we should not use like randomly use the radioisotopes. We need radioisotope for some purposes, for some medical issues, for some like all these type of nuclear reactor, but we should not randomly like synthesize all these radioisotopes. So fifth, you can see that nuclear installation should be controlled. So we should install and we should control, and we should have a government strict regulations that should be maintained all the time. Fission reactors should be minimized. Radioisotopes may be used in the liquid or gas form instead of powder form. So the radioisotope what we are using, we should use it in the liquid or gas form, because then we can control it. If it is powder form, then it can also go to the to the sea, or we can simply so when if we are not taking the measures, then we can also dump it into the waste, and which will also create problem in future. So so we have to use either in the liquid form or in the gas form. Next is the nuclear mines formed with underground drainage. The nine is the method needs to be developed for the safe handling and disposal of radioactive waste should be very careful. The usage of nuclear medicines should be minimized. The steps should be taken to prevent the leakage of the radioactive elements from nuclear reactor. And the 12th one, the radioactive waste should be stored in such a place where they gradually decay to stable products. And so while we are using all these radioactive waste, we should dump into a properly designated place, so that we know that okay, we have this radioactive waste, so we can be careful about it, and also this place is properly maintained, that gradually it will decay and it will form something like which is non-poisonous, non-hazardous. So that also needs to be taken care of. All right, so we came to the end of the class. So here are some reference books. First one is Environmental Pollution, the Omkar Ravishankar Bharmaji. So you can also have a look for the other books for your better knowledge. So if you have any question, don't hesitate to write to me. So here is the email address, rajorshi@snmisc.edu.in. So I can also read all the emails and I can give you the reply in time. Thank you again. See you in the next class.